handoff. Adrian up the middle, room to the 20, cuts to the left to the 25, and Adrian's loose. He splits the defense. 50, 40, 30. Goodbye, baby. Touchdown!
We bleed purple and our bones are gold. Hear the horns coming out of our dome. Behold, we are Minnesota Vikings fans. We love when a player scores. We roar, ignite the stands.
Hey there, Minnesota Vikings football fans. You are listening to the Purple People podcast. My name is Kyle West, and I am accompanied, as always, by Adam Carlson and Kyle Smith. Gentlemen, how are you guys?
It's a good day. I just got back from my fantasy football draft. No Vikings on my team, but I did that on purpose because I'm going to be cheering for them anyway.
Woohoo. Happy Tuesday. Probably Wednesday or Thursday when all the fans listen, but good weekend for Vikings fans.
That's true. We had a really good week of football. Lots of information. Lots of things happened. So let's kick off episode number 113, Raising Arizona, with some quick hits. The first quick hit, linebacker Dom DeCiso, was released with an injury designation. He had been struggling with a hip injury that kept him out of play. He'll most likely receive an injury settlement, and that'll be it.
You can't make an impact if you're on the sidelines.
You can't make the club in the tub.
Yep.
Best quote ever.
Mm-hmm.
To take his place, the Vikings have claimed linebacker Justin Jackson from the Detroit Lions. When you think of Lions linebackers, you don't usually think of very quality players, but Justin Jackson is one of those physical freak guys that's very athletic, and I think he's one of the guys that Zimmer might actually take a little bit of an affinity to, so Justin Jackson could be fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's finally an end to the Chris Kluwe Vikings thing.
Oh, thank God.
A settlement has been reached. The Vikings will donate money to charities and hold sensitivity training, while Kluwe is no longer able to document any goings-on with the team.
Yay, now we never have to speak of this stupid, drawn-out situation ever again.
I honestly thought it was going to last longer than this. That's what she said. No, seriously, I'm glad this is finally over with, so we can actually focus on something that's actually important and relevant.
Exactly. And remember that suspension of the special teams coach can be reduced a game if he attends sensitivity training too, so we may see that happen. Jerome Simpson was actually in New York on Monday appealing a 3-game suspension by the NFL. As for a long time, a lot of fans, and I know that a lot of my readers on the Viking Age were wondering what was going on with Jerome Simpson, and we did find out that he did get a 3-game suspension, but he is appealing it. It has been appealed. We just got to wait and find out what the results are.
Silver lining... Oh, you go first, Kyle.
Insert my plug for Jarius Wright to step up, because it's been kind of quiet through camp. And for Adam Thielen to make a little splash in the first 3 games.
My boy Rodney Smith should get some action.
There you go. See, don't look at it as a negative light. And I do like Jerome Simpson, especially the first year he came in. The most yards that never happened because he got the most flags drawn. Amazing. What a cool deep threat he is. I think he has good intentions, but I'm going to plug in those players, and I'm secondly going to say I think this is going to be his wake-up call. He's been on 1-year deals since we got him. I think he realizes you got to keep your nose clean. I think he will. I have a good feeling about it. But being out for 3 games is not going to help you. So Hopefully you learn your lesson.
No, and I got to say, a silver lining to that one might be that if he is suspended for 3 games, I don't believe he will count against the Vikings' 53-man roster.
That's correct.
So technically, we can carry 54 players for the first 3 games, and then we would be able to maybe slide someone like an Adam Thielen back onto the practice squad.
I don't want to try to sneak either Thielen or Smith on the squad.
But
that would make me nervous.
You might be able to do that because 3 games into the season, maybe the other teams in the league are more comfortable about where their practice squads are sitting. You might be able to slide someone in at that point.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
My last quick hit is that Sunday was a great day for former Minnesota Vikings that are now in the WWE. Brock Lesnar defeated John Cena to become the WWE champion this Sunday at SummerSlam, while another former Viking, Roman Reigns, defeated the 12-time champion Randy Orton. That's fun. I like watching wrestling, and it's cool to root for former Vikings. I like that.
Oh, of course.
I like the plugs, man. Keep those coming.
Just a little something different. And I think that Mr. Kyle Smith has a social media question for us.
Yes, I got all hyped to do this, and then I slacked off last week. Sorry, guys. I was so excited for vacation that I'm on now. I was too busy thinking about it when I should have been working and then working on this. But one of the best people that I know and biggest Vikings fans, Mr. Adam Carlson there, posted. Yeah, see, I like to turn it around, especially when I'm slacking. I'll make you guys look better. If you were the Vikings general manager and you could make one fair in all capital letters, trade, what would you trade? Who would you trade? And why? I'm going to read some of these comments because I'm going to tell you some of these are hilarious. Yeah. So my favorite is John Moldenhaller. So ponder for some clipboards and knee pads.
Oh, come on.
I thought we said fair. Well,
yeah,
maybe, you know what? Maybe that is a fair trade.
We still love you, Ponder. I don't know. We'll get back to that later. Ponder and draft picks for a legitimate shutdown corner. That comes from Carter Elledge. That's not too bad. I think with the pick that you spent for Xavier last year, and now that you have Captain Munderland on the other side, I think we could wait on that, but I do like where your head is at there.
Yeah, I would like to see another established corner come to this defense. That could be good and fun.
Chris Cook. You can come back after next year.
And I've got, actually, I'm going to run through these last three. I'll give mine. This won't take too long. Ricky Spears says, I would trade Ponder and a first-round pick for a highly decent D lineman or linebacker. Well, I think we addressed that in the first round of the draft, but you could obviously see that was one of, if not the most pressing need, in my opinion, the most pressing need. But we took care of that. But, hey, like corners, I don't think you could have too many awesome linebackers.
Well, personally, I want to see that middle linebacker stud. This Minnesota Vikings defense has been lacking that for a while. I know that the last one that just really held it down for me was E.J. Henderson.
Yep.
And there hasn't really been one since him that reached his level. So I would like to see either one of the guys on the current roster step up or the draft next year, something happen. Maybe in free agency, I don't know. But that middle linebacker spot has been ignored too long.
Well, I can't argue with you there. Corner and linebacker are my biggest things. I think we did a great job getting a good, solid D-line built. Speedy recovery I hope you're having there, Linval Joseph, by the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would love to see a bigger name at the linebacker spot, but I'm going to err on the side of potential for Anthony Barr, especially because he's shown flashes already. Absolutely. I would like to see another corner. That's exactly where I'm leading into. Sorry, I was going to read more of these, but I just want to do my job on the show and talk about what I think. Ponder, I love you. I mean, I try to be a supporter. We love you here at the podcast. We're not National Football League quarterbacks, so when we give you a hard time, you know it's all in fun. But
I can't throw a football worth of crap.
I can't run, I can't catch, I can't throw, so that's why I'm a fan. So I'm just going to keep that there. But Ponder would be my first choice. We could definitely keep 3 quarterbacks on the roster, but with how many quarterbacks, I was saying this before the show, with how many quarterbacks there are floating around, if there was just a worst case emergency scenario where Teddy broke a leg and Matt Castle's shoulder gets thrown out of place, we could find someone else to manage games. You know, when that comes around.
Don't you talk like that.
I know that. Hear that, everybody? I'm knocking on wood. All right. But there's enough quarterbacks floating around out there that we would pick someone to hand the ball off and make 5 to 6 yard passes. And I'm okay with that. But I think to free up space to keep depth at other positions that we really need help at, because let's be honest, Castle can manage the game. He can actually be a good winner. He's been to a Pro Bowl. Teddy has nothing but time and potential, so I would get rid of Ponder. Just my thing. The
only real issue there is that his guaranteed money. I understand that you don't want to hold a spot just because you invested so much in a guy, but to throw that much money out on a guy that you invested so much in it's hard.
I was saying that before the show too for all the fans. We spent a first-round pick on Ponder. That's intense. We definitely shouldn't have gotten him that high, but the need was there for a quarterback. But I think a sixth-round pick would be fair based on his performance. He did lead a team through the playoffs at one time. So, yeah, tell me what you guys think. We'll ask another question like that next week. But Ponder for a sixth-round pick, that's what I would do.
All right, sounds good. If you didn't watch the game between the Minnesota Vikings and the Arizona Cardinals, you missed a doozy. It was one heck of an entertaining game. Touchdowns flying back and forth, controversial calls, strange plays, rookies lighting it up, just stuff all over the place. If you ever see the replay of it, and I've seen the replay maybe 4 times on NFL Network. I can't stop watching it when I see it's on. It is definitely a game you don't want to miss.
Yeah.
If you read my work on the Viking Age, you'll see that I broke down the offense into 3 sections. I broke it down into the good, the bad, and the ugly. The great part was that the quarterback play was just awesome. Matt Castle and Teddy Bridgewater combined for 28 of 36, 330 yards and 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. These 2 guys held down ship against one of the toughest defenses in the NFL. I know it's preseason and there's second teams and third teams and whatnot, but this Arizona defense is no joke. And these guys played very well despite that. Both Rodney Smith and Adam Thielen impressed. The bad part is that we saw some dropped touchdowns. Kyle Rudolph in the red zone. Mr. Sure Hands with the gloves there, the glove connection. Maybe in the future, I don't know. But Kyle Rudolph had one bounce off his hands, and we saw the same thing happen to Thielen later on. And that was just kind of distracting. The main thing that got me from this game was the lack of a running game. Sure, Joe Banyard broke one for 59 yards, but aside from that, there were only 19 rushing attempts for 31 yards. Jerick McKinnon only had 1 carry for -3 yards. Matt Asiata averaged less than 2 yards per carry. I want to see some more stability at the backup running back position. And what I listed for my ugly was that Christian Ponder was completely left out of the offense. Now, I understand that a lot of fans, they don't want to see Ponder. They would rather see Teddy Bridgewater and Matt Castle, and they were fine watching it. Personally, after what I saw in the first preseason game from Christian Ponder, where I kind of questioned his effort a bit, I wanted him to come out and show that he really does want to be a part of this team, and that he can play well against even second, third, and fourth team defenses. To me, it showed a lot of the direction of the franchise that they didn't even bother putting him out there. That was what I felt about the offense in the game.
And well, I would say for the Ponder thing is that I'm kind of in the camp of, at this point, I really don't even see the point of letting him play because he has no future with the team. We know, yeah, maybe they're probably going to keep 3 quarterbacks because they want that emergency quarterback just in case, like Kyle Smith said, in case something was to happen to,
right,
the other 2. But we've seen enough from Ponder in years prior to know what he brings to the table. I would much rather them get Castle in rhythm with the first team unit and let Teddy Bridgewater get the experience and the reps and the time to learn, because that's what preseason is for. And sorry, Christian, you don't fit into the picture anymore. You really don't.
But when you say that you've got an open quarterback competition and one quarterback doesn't even get any game reps, that's kind of not cool.
Well, it was an open competition at the start of training camp in Mankato about a month ago. And it's no longer open competition between the 3 of them. I would actually say our depth chart is pretty set at this point, with Castle at 1, Bridgewater 2, Ponder emergency backup at 3.
I would agree.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you guys feel about the run game?
Well, I actually had a note there I was going to say earlier. I'm glad I didn't interrupt you because that would be rude. You know that argument that everybody always gives nowadays, especially NFL Network? Oh, it's a passing league, blah, blah, blah. Do you see what happens when people like Adrian Peterson aren't on the field?
Mm-hmm.
It's embarrassing. It sucks. Hey, I wanted to see a lot more of Jerick McKinnon, but I realized that they have big plans for him and games that actually matter. But hey, I'm just telling you, the running game for the NFL, it is not dead. I don't care if this is a passing league. It was so apparent, especially on our side, that there was no running attack or there was nothing to be feared. And that says a lot to me about Matt Asiata, especially the last 2 games last year. He came on strong, especially the last game. We had 3 touchdowns in the last game last year. I mean, dude, this is a preseason game. You should be out there, making your stock rise. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe, everybody has an off day. I mean, even the best have
It
off
happens.
days. It was not what I'm used to seeing, but then again, at the same time, to play devil's advocate for myself, there was no Adrian Peterson on the field.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to chalk it up to that, but I'm going to leave that in that with my statement with it may be a passing league, but the running back position is far from dead. And even though we didn't show that flash, the lack of our running game or the fear that no one had for our running game because AP wasn't there tells me that the running back position is much to be valued.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for Minnesota, it looked like a run game without Adrian Peterson, and the results were pretty much what you would expect. Honestly, I've never been that big of a fan of Matt Asiata. I think he's good. He's been a good core special teams kind of guy, but just lining him up in the backfield as an every down back, I've not been that big of a fan of his. You kind of see why in this game. Joe Banyard, I thought, was decent enough. I would still like to see more of McKinnon, but basically, the team is built around Adrian Peterson, and it is still doomsday scenario if something was to happen to him for the Vikings run game for sure.
Absolutely. And after this game, after the week 2 game, which wide receiver, if you could only keep one of them, would you keep out of Rodney Smith or Adam Thielen?
Thielen.
I have no idea. That is a really, really tough question, Adam.
Because it may come down to that.
I know. I would say I would keep Adam because I think he's flashed more in camp. But Rodney Smith has all the potential to be a darn good receiver as well too, and I would hate to lose either of them, to be perfectly honest.
It's true.
I'll give you 2 things on that, and it'll be really quick. Anybody that watched the NBA offseason and watched LeBron go back to Ohio, they picked Andrew Wiggins number 1.
Mm-hmm.
He never mentioned anything about him because he knew he was going to get dealt. I'll give you a good star on our team. He's not the LeBron of the Vikings, but he's the next best thing. The number 2 most popular player and flashiest guy. Flash. CP84. I about said AP84. CP84, Cordero Patterson. He said in an interview, I know he's going to make the team. I believe Adam Thielen will make the team, and the only reason, and I'm not discrediting Roddy for anything, because him and Teddy Bridgewater have a connection, and I've seen that. I think Thielen can have a connection with both. I have seen Thielen connect, especially in a lot of training camp video with Teddy Bridgewater, but he also catches a decent amount whenever he gets the opportunity from Matt Castle. I think he's more far along right now than Rodney is, but they both have different they're both different receivers, especially size. Rodney's taller, lankier. He might be a bigger deep threat, but if I had to go with one right now who I feel is more ready and could contribute more, catch more, be a bigger threat, it's Adam Thielen. But hey, Rodney, we like you, and you had a good game Friday night. So
it's actually pretty cool that we're actually talking about how good the depth at wide receiver is on this Vikings team.
We could be a dark horse, man. I'm telling you. We need Greg Jennings to step up because I believe Mr. Patterson knows what's expected of him this year, and we've got good people. I mean, like I said before, he's not having as good a year last year, especially preseason wise. But I'm a huge Jarius Wright fan. I mean, if you look at the Seattle game last year, Jarius burned Richard Sherman, Mr. Shutdown corner of the league. We have a very underrated wide receiving core because all we do is focus on maybe Kyle Rudolph and AP. So watch out.
Well, here's a good one to flip to you guys really quick. Jerome Simpson is one of those players who we kind of feel like we know what Jerome's potential is. It's a good potential. He's a good player. We like him here at the podcast. But we know the suspension. We kind of know what his ceiling is, so to speak.
Right.
Do you keep Jerome and risk cutting either Thylene or Rodney Smith? Or do you cut Jerome Simpson and keep the potential of those two players?
The nice thing is that right now you wouldn't have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
With the 3-week suspension, they'd have a little bit of time to figure something out, and maybe an injury would happen or something to where they could keep them all on the roster, and that could happen. But if Jerome Simpson's suspension gets taken away and he is available to play week 1, man, it's going to be a rough situation. I'm going to be a sad puppy.
I would take Jerome Simpson just because he's a veteran presence. He's not really injury prone from what I've seen for us. It is kind of disheartening. He's been with us for 3 seasons now, and he's only got 1 touchdown, but he wasn't always our number 1 go-to guy. I'd keep him, but you're right, man. If you're going forward, if you're looking at a 3-season contract or deal, I probably wouldn't take him. But if I had to keep one just for this season, I'd probably take Jerome.
I do like Jerome, and I feel like he's going to fit into more of a natural role for him this year. I think he was kind of thrust into maybe a de facto number 1 role for the Vikings in previous seasons, and that's not really his strong suit. I feel like now with Patterson really going to be coming into his own and used correctly, and the veteran Greg Jennings, that kind of throws Jerome more into that number 3 role-playing position that I think he can come out there and I think he can actually excel at, assuming his head is in the game fully and he wants to give it his all for the Vikings.
Yeah, very true.
Mm-hmm.
Let's flip over to the defensive side of the ball and let's talk about what I saw that was good over there. 3 new starters really shined on this Vikings defensive first team. Everson Griffin looked like the player that is worth the deal that he signed. He had a really quick step and just played a super game. I don't know if this is indicative of how it's going to be when he starts opposite Brian Robinson. I'm a buyer. I'm buying in.
Oh yeah, I like Everson. His potential, we all know his potential is through the roof, and it's just a matter of getting him time on the field and reps. But he is really quick and really explosive, and I'm quite excited to see what he's going to do for the Vikings this year.
Well, a lot of his play in the past was from the defensive tackle position in special pass rushing situations. On the outside, I was really glad to see him being disciplined, having that quick step, reading plays well. Very impressed with him. Anthony Barr impressed once again. He got to the quarterback for the second time in 2 weeks, stripped the football out. That's a sack and a half so far in 2 preseason games in limited time. So for those of you that are still worried about Anthony Barr being raw, I'm not sure I'd go that far anymore, especially after seeing him just really impress me in coverage. That's what really got me, is a guy that has only been playing linebacker for 2 or 3 years now, excelling at things that veterans struggle with, playing in coverage, knowing when to pass rush, and all that sort of thing. It's just so fantastic to watch him play.
And what's fun about him being paired up with Mike Zimmer is that he's going to be used in all these different positions on the field. Like, you don't know if he's going to be dropping back in coverage. Is he going to be rushing forward? Where's he going to line up? Where are you going to use him? And he is a guy who's got the physical tools and the ability to play multiple positions on this Vikings defense. So
offensive will have to account for him because they don't know what he's going to do.
I just want to give a shout out. I'm on NFL.com right now. I didn't get to watch the game. I will be watching the one Friday. You bet it. Thankfully, I'm off.
Saturday.
And Saturday? Okay, cool. Well, it's the Chiefs too. It's my dad's team, so can't really. I can't wait. I don't care if it's preseason. I'm going to run my mouth to my dad a lot, but I'm going to send all you guys a picture on the Purple People Podcast Facebook page. I ordered a 3/4 sleeve baseball style Teddy Bridgewater Vikings shirt, and just to be a little different. The guys already saw it, but I'll be repping that Saturday. I want to show everybody, but I'm looking at the defensive statistics. Shout out to Mr. Corey Wooten. Excited that he's going to be on the team. He got a sack the other day. I'm looking right here. Anthony Barr said he split a sack the other day. It says he split it with Tom Johnson. That's really awesome. I'm losing my train of thought here. I wanted to talk about Audie Cole a little bit, but I lost my footing there. I'll probably come back to it. But basically, to piggyback what you were saying about Anthony Barr, I don't know if anyone that's listening to what their sport was growing up. I always wanted to play football. I don't know. I guess I was just too much of a chicken to try out. I wrestled for 8 years, and a lot of the football players wrestled as well. And I got, that kind of vibe from it, like, hey, we always come out and support each other no matter what. But my coach was a very, very good coach. He was nationally known back in the day. And, when I was very raw, I like to relate this to the Anthony Barr situation. He gave me 3 things to work on for like a month. And he's like, I don't care if you have to do them 2,000 times a piece. Go do them until you can do them perfectly in your sleep backwards. And I think that's the approach what I've seen that Mike Zimmer is using with Anthony Barr. Mm-hmm. And the more he's not giving him a ton to do, he's just letting him be natural at what he's good at. And Anthony Barr is natural. He's a raw athlete. He's super fast. And lining him up, sometimes linebacker, lining him sometimes up at the end position, he's gonna confuse even some pretty good quarterbacks, or at least make them, be wary of where he's gonna be. And I know some people are like, he only played linebacker for so many years. And I'm not one of those people that's going to credit or discredit him from that. It is what it is. But if this is how good he is this young and this early, holy crap, give him 2 more years and see if he's not in the top 10, maybe top 5. That's the potential that I see with him.
I've got to skip forward to my ugly because I kind of got to go back and talk about something you just hit on there, Kyle. Mm-hmm. Now, my ugly was Scott Creighton and Scott Wooten, or Scott Creighton and Corey Wooten.
Gotcha.
They both looked terrible. Between the 2 players getting penalties, falling for play action, biting on misdirections, and generally just being out of position at times, they both looked like they didn't understand what was going on out there. Now, the Arizona Cardinals offense it's fast, but a veteran like Corey Wooten shouldn't be falling for these kind of plays on that regular of a basis. I understand with Creighton because he's a rookie, but read and react should be something that a veteran like Wooten should have and understand. To me, that was really the most disappointing part of this game defensively for the Vikings for me. Mm-hmm. My bad. Now, this isn't so much of as bad as it is temporary bad. Because the middle of the defensive line of the Minnesota Vikings saw a huge drop-off without Linval Joseph. I like Fred Evans as a backup, but I wouldn't want to move forward with him as a starter in this defensive unit. Linval Joseph just eats up too much space and is too good of a player, and the drop-off past him on this roster looks rough. Actually, things got better once Fred Evans sat down and Shamar Stephen came in and took his place. So I'm hoping that this injury to Linval Joseph isn't anything serious, because it looks like this defense may hinge on him being healthy and productive.
Yeah, I would agree. I hope he's ready to go by week 1. Sorry to interrupt you, Kyle.
Oh, no, that's okay.
There's always this slight second delay there, but we can't afford any time without him unless it's just very pressing that it can only do more harm than good injury-wise. Like I said this in probably last week or the week before. Between Captain and Linval, it's a very, very close race. But Linval was my favorite signing of the offseason to kind of reestablish what used to be our Williams wall. And, man, thank God it happened in preseason. That's all I'm going to say. I like I said earlier, I hope he's doing better, and I hope he recovers fast, because we're going to need him.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And that's why I was so hard on him a couple episodes back, even though it was out of his control to an extent that happened. But
Yeah, you got a little bit of criticism about that on the Viking age.
That's okay. People can criticize all they want because he is a really important piece to this Vikings defense. A critical piece, I would even say.
Another thing that really bothered me about this game is, as Vikings fans, we've gotten used to seeing the game given away. Soft defenses at the end, playing prevent. I didn't think that we'd see that with this defense, but we did. We saw the Vikings give up all 4 of Arizona's 4th down attempts. They went 4 for 4 on them. And that just can't happen. And they even let Arizona convert 7 of their 15 third down attempts. And to me, with this defense the way it is, that's unacceptable.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little concerning. I'm sure Mike Zimmer wasn't happy with that, which it was probably the greatest quote ever. He's like, well, what'd you think of the game? And they're like, well, if you're a fan, it was great. This is kind of a game that makes an old coach older, going back and forth. But I think it'll slowly get better. Like I said, all off season, patience, growing pains. But he's not going to let that. He's not going to let that stand. Especially the confidence that you can drain out of an offense and a quarterback by shutting them down for a 3-and-out. I'm pretty sure that's going to be high on his priority list to talk about if he hasn't talked about it already.
Absolutely. On special teams, there wasn't a lot to be concerned about with the punting. We saw Jeff Locke improve his yards per average and actually looked a lot more respectable this week than the one previous. However, now we got to worry a little bit about Blair Walsh, which may actually be partially due to Jeff Locke too, but who knows? We saw Blair Walsh miss a long field goal, which that happens. But when he missed the extra point, that was when I was scratching my head. I don't know if it was communication between the center, the holder, the kicker, or whether it was a bad kick. I don't know.
Well, I'm comfortable blaming Jeff Locke because when in doubt, we can always blame Jeff Locke in situations like that. To be fair to Blair, they have moved the extra point back further during the preseason. The NFL is experimenting with that.
That kick should still be automatic.
It should be, so that's why I am going to assume that the hold was not laces out, or however it is they do that.
Laces out, Dan.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you got that reference.
Good reference.
All right, that was what I took away from it. I know a lot of fans, especially on Facebook and Twitter, exploded after the game with their love and admiration for new Vikings quarterback Teddy Bridgewater, how exciting the first drive was to take the lead, and how excited the next drive was. That was the game winner. All in all, you couldn't ask to see more from Teddy Bridgewater. The defense for Arizona was sending a ton of pressure at him. He handled it in what looked like almost nearly effortless manner. And after he threw the game-winning touchdown, he just kind of turned with a stone face and looked, and then went back to the huddle.
That looked like typical Teddy that you saw from Louisville. And if I don't know if anybody, like I've advertised before, go look up some of his highlights. There's 2 or 3 videos on YouTube. One's 8 minutes long, one's 12 minutes long. The music's horrible in them, but bear with it. Walk through. It's god awful. I have to turn it down, but
the music is always horrible in those highlight videos.
Oh yeah.
Unless you're watching AP's, thing where he had his almost record-breaking seasons, MVP season. I can't put up with it, but I'm getting off subject here. Teddy is what I loved about him the most, besides his IQ and his ceiling for knowledge. You could look at some of the best quarterbacks ever out there. They weren't the most athletic people in the world, but they make good decisions, and I'm okay with that because turnovers at the quarterback position are devastating. So I don't know. But back to what I was saying, like what you were saying just now, Adam. He stayed in the pocket and he'll stand in pressure. He will step into a hit if he knows he's going to get a good throw down the field, or at least a good look. Oh, yeah. And I love it. It just further proves that's the kid that we looked at. I believe his first game was nervousness. I believe it was jitters. And I believe I told a lot of people this. You sure are excited about your boy against third team or third stringers. what else is he going to do? He's not going to play against no one. He's got to play against somebody, and I'd rather see him do good than bad. So I want to give my personal shout-out to Teddy for playing a good game. I don't care who you were playing. You looked awesome. You looked like you did in college. You looked like the kid that we jumped back into the first round to get, and I hope it continues. And Vikings fans, now that I know you're listening to this, get your butts out there Saturday and watch, because I have a good feeling you're going to see a heavy dose of him this week, seeing as how we're trying to – I think Mike's going to go with the traditional route and pick a starter by next week for week 1. Mm-hmm. So if you guys wanted to see a lot of Ponder, you just have to wait till next week. But I think we're going to see a lot more Castle and Bridgewater this week, just like you saw this past weekend. So
right, because game 3 of the preseason is typically the regular season dress rehearsal. This is when teams game plan and scheme and actually go out and execute more of a game plan rather than trying things out, working with personnel, trying to develop I don't know, I stumbled on that word. Develop a rapport between the players. And this game is going to be more of the dress rehearsal. So we'll actually get to see Vikings football. I know that before we were watching Vikings football, but this is going to be team Vikings football, coached Vikings football, organized Vikings football. And I am excited to see it. I want to see so much of this. This is why the preseason is the way it is, because of game 3. Game 4 next week is going to be backups. Mm-hmm. Most of the time the starters don't even play. Next week is going to be to see who makes the club. This week is to see the starters shine.
Should be fun. I'd love to watch the Vikings away. It gives them a new place to a new atmosphere, and I don't know. Arrowhead Stadium's pretty cool.
Yep.
A lot of good football played there. I'll be watching it with my dad this weekend, running my mouth. But yeah, I like to watch Vikings away because I know when we played in the Metrodome, we had lots of good time. A lot more wins than losses there. But
yep.
I love to see. I think you can truly show your true team colors on the road, going into someone else's house and making a statement. So I'm excited for it.
I gotta say, I got a lot of weird looks when I was going on the Lambeau Field tour in all my Vikings apparel.
Good for you. Good for you. Blow, pack, blow. I just want to say that out there.
Hey, I respect the Packers, and they have one hell of a history.
And
not a lot of fans can go through with that kind of respect. And I thought that I represented the team well. And that's what I wanted to do. But talking about the Chiefs, Saturday, 7 p.m. Central Time, Matt Castle has been named the starting quarterback for that game. That shouldn't really be a surprise. He hasn't really done anything to loosen his grip on the starting job. We haven't really seen him falter in any major way. So look forward to that. Hopefully we'll get to see all the starters out there doing their thing. What are you guys looking forward to? Is there anybody on the Kansas City Chiefs that has been impressing you, or are there any Vikings that you think really need a huge performance this game?
The Chiefs, I want to see if Dwayne Bowe's still got it in the tank. I know I'm not going to see that in a preseason game, but he has crazy good potential. My favorite Kansas City Chief to watch, obviously it's Jamal Charles. I've never seen a guy who is so good like Jamal Charles. Look at Adrian Peterson, like I've seen him on all the last 2 years on.
I don't think Jamal Charles is going to be playing though.
Oh well,
he just had an injury when he was moving out of his dorm room and dropped a box on his foot.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yep.
I don't pay attention to the other teams. I'm sorry. He's my favorite player to watch, and as Adam's telling me now, I probably won't get to see him, but I've never seen a guy who is so good at that position. He's an elite running back, and he can catch, he can run, he can do it all. And especially last year, if you had fantasy and you had Jamal Charles, you were laughing at people.
You were a happy guy.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is how humble he is. I have too much respect for that. Whenever Adrian was being selected number 1 last year, and I think, 3 or 4 this year? 4 this year on the top 100 players.
Right.
Jamal Charles looks at him like me and you look at him and talk about him like he's a superhero. He's like, man, I want to be like Adrian. Like, dude, you're a badass. Give yourself some credit. But another guy is obviously at the quarterback position. I want to see Alex Smith. I'm not going to lie to you. When I thought we were in the race to get a quarterback and we were picking out Matt Castle, I wanted Alex Smith. I think he's a very good quarterback. I think he's underrated. He's not going to flash, but I think he can make really good decisions. He's a guy I'm looking out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know anybody on our team that I think really needs to step up. Jarius Wright, I'm calling you out if you're listening. Hadn't made anything too spectacular. I was expecting a little more. I don't know. I'm going to call it Jarius Wright.
Nice. How about you, Mr. West? Do you have anything that you're looking forward to in specific?
Well, for the Kansas City side of things, really quick, my favorite Kansas City Chief is no longer a Chief. That was Ricky Stanzi, the former quarterback for the Iowa Hawkeyes. No longer with the team, so I cannot look forward to him playing, so he's down there in Jacksonville now. Yeah, I know, poor Ricky. So really for them, just whatever, see what they can do. For the Vikings, honestly, I am looking forward to seeing how Teddy reacts after coming off from last week's game, where we all know, him leading the team down to the game-winning drive in the manner that he did. Well, let's see how he reacts if he continues to have a hot hand when he gets the opportunity to play, or will he kind of regress back to what we've seen from the first game. Obviously, all Vikings fans hope that he continues to have the hot hand and continues to progress, but we'll see. We will see what the rookie can do. Otherwise, I am looking for more from Jerick McKinnon. Like I say, I'm not really that big of a fan of Matt Asiata, and Joe Banyard is, those are just kind of guys, and that are on the team. And Jerick McKinnon is I'm hoping that he can be more than just a guy. I'm hoping he can be a role filler for the Minnesota Vikings, and I want to see him step it up, whether that's in the passing game or the running game or the blocking game, or I want to see more from him when his number is called upon for the team.
Nice. I can tell that I used to be a former offensive lineman and you guys weren't. Because what I'm looking forward to seeing is this Minnesota Vikings offensive line going up against those big, strong monsters on that Kansas City Chiefs defensive line. That's going to be a battle all game. They're going to have to do their best to protect former Kansas City Chief Matt Castle in the pocket. I'm really excited to see what's going to happen here. The first couple drives are going to be really interesting and fun to watch. And that's primarily what I want to see right away, is I want to see how this offensive line reacts to trying to protect Matt Castle.
And I hope that Matt Castle outplays Alex Smith. Like that
would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be nice, and it would be justified just a little bit on his part. I'm sure he would really like that.
Yeah, I was going to say that earlier, but it's not like, Peyton Manning goes back to Indy. Matt Castle goes back to not Matt Castle goes back to Kansas City, but that was on my brain, and it would be cool. I know Matt's a classy guy; he'll have a lot of respect, and it'd be cool to go back. But that's a good twist on it, Mr. Former lineman.
I don't know. Maybe he will flip off the Kansas City bench at some point during the game. What do you guys think?
I think he's more classy than that.
We went all this episode without talking about him. I'm so happy to say I'm not going to talk any more about that kid.
I know, but the fruit was right there, and I just had to grab it.
Thank God we didn't draft that kid. And I called you a kid. Oh.
That's all I have for this week. Do you guys have anything else you want to add?
No, I hope you guys didn't hear my phone going off.
No.
It's fine.
I didn't hear anything, but let's keep it rolling. Let's see if we can have an undefeated preseason. Knock on wood. I don't want us to get jinxed now, but we're doing pretty good so far.
Did you know that the year that the Lions went 0-16, they went undefeated during the preseason?
I knew you were going to say that.
Just saying.
I don't think Mike Zimmer's going to allow this team to go 0-16.
Winless. That would suck.
I hate to be a player, but I would love to see that. I'd love to be a fly on the wall for that situation. Oof.
I would not want to be in that locker room.
Adam, did you see him on the sidelines? Like you were talking about the defense, and it was late in the fourth quarter, and he is just reaming him a new one. And it's just funny because it's preseason. Like, as a fan, you sit here and you go, oh, it's preseason, okay, whatever. The third string quarterback is driving down the field against him. I don't get too worked up about it. But no, from their perspective, there's important shit that's going on out there. And he was treating it like it was the a playoff game. It was good to see a coach. Like I told my dad when I was watching the replay of it, it's nice to have a coach in Minnesota that's out there and animated and looks like he cares, because we got so used to, I know it's a different style of coaching, but Leslie Frazier standing there with his arms folded, not really saying anything, not really doing anything. And now we got Mike Zimmer, and you can tell when he's coaching.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
On that note, I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Check us out on Facebook, at Purple People Pod on Twitter. Check out my work on the Viking Age. If you like reading about the Minnesota Vikings, that's a good place to go. If you like reading about The Walking Dead, check out Undead Walking. That's one of my personal pages that I absolutely write for and plug all the time. So do me a favor, if you know some Walking Dead fans, bring them over there. We're trying to get that community growing too, just like this Purple People podcast community. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, even tell people you don't like. Walk up to random people and say, hey, have you heard the Purple People podcast? Go to their Facebook page, check it out.
I'm going to break it down when I get promoted, and I'm actually going to pay for sponsorship on Facebook so we can get some more word out there. I challenge all of you that are listening, go out and share the Purple People Podcast Facebook page on your own Facebook. And if you have a Twitter, tweet us. Put our name out there so we can get the word to more Vikings fans.
That doesn't mean we don't appreciate the community we already have. You guys are absolutely awesome with all your comments, questions, messages, everything. We love you guys. Just keep up the community here. We try our best to keep up to date on the page. Thank you again for listening, and remember to stay classy.
Hold on. Since we are plugging things at the moment, I gotta get in a cheap plug here at the end too, Adam. You guys should check out all my artwork over at deviantart.com. That is grindhousecinema.deviantart.com. I have a lot of Vikings prints that are up for sale. You can buy 8x10s. When lots and lots and lots of other photos, all kinds of stuff. It's all for sale. It'd be great if you could help me out and buy some.
Absolutely. Check out his artwork. Check out the Viking Age. Check out the Purple People Podcast, Facebook and Twitter. And stay classy, Minnesota.